Reading an article from, or I guess quoting Reventlow, if I'm pronouncing his name properly. He was a National Socialist. He was Christian, and I believe he was part of the Christian faith movement, which he left because he claimed it was anti-Christian. And remember, the National Socialist Party rejected the German faith movement. So, um, but anyway, this is interesting what he had to say here. So I don't know too much about Reventlow, but he said, or the article says, a well-known religious philosopher and former second chairman of the German faith movement, right? Says former Count Reventlow, who repeatedly emphasized that he does not profess Christianity, writes the following far-reaching words about the significance of Jesus Christ in the last issue of the Reichswort from April 11th, 1940. So Reventlow wrote, quote, if one completely leaves aside one's own religious standpoint, then for anyone who is reasonably informed, the personality of the man, Jesus, reveals itself in a greatness, significance, and to use the word significance that has not yet been foreseen to this day. The fact that for 1900 years, the reckoning of time has begun with him, whether one writes after the birth of Christ or according to the common era, is in itself proof that with the appearance of Jesus, a new era began for all people and nations who are considered Christian. Um, I'm going to skip that middle part there. It says, one might now say that in modern times, this is ultimately due primarily to technical reasons and causes, primarily that it is at least very complicated and therefore difficult to introduce a different calendar after 1000 years. Certainly, this objection cannot be successfully refuted. Nevertheless, the introduction of a different calendar would not change the fact in the slightest, nor would it subsequently change that the entire few years of Jesus' life actively marked the beginning of a new era by which hardly a single people on the surface of the earth has not been touched or affected in some way, partly in a positive, partly in a negative sense. This fact is world historical. It is also at the same time a reality liveliness of the present. This too does not change the opinion, the fear, or the hope that the people on the surface of the earth are now more likely to face the end, the fading of this almost 2,000-year period. Two, my I don't know, 2,000-year period was aggravated by the fall of the earth. I don't know, it didn't translate properly there. Anyway, continuing on the second page, we need not discuss how profoundly this period affected all areas of life, both internal and external, of European people and nations. It changes just as little how one views the influences of Christianity or emphasizes that Christianity has corresponded or does not correspond much, if at all, to the will of its originator. We might as well use the expression founder, which seems inappropriate to us. In short, the global significance of the personality of Jesus, whether or not this is understood as an immediate divine revelation, is simply there and without precedent. It cannot be compared with any other phenomenon, not even with the world significant figure of the Buddha, just as the death of Jesus cannot be compared with that of Socrates, whose significance and personality we rate extremely highly in themselves and in their effects through the medium of Plato. Um, Doubts about the historical existence of the personality of Jesus, as they occasionally arose even a few decades ago, are no longer seriously possible today, quite apart from the fact that even the most resourceful falsifiers of all centuries have not been able to make this personality credible as an impersonal reflection of the thoughts of his time, as a new, I don't know what that means, a new homunculus. I don't know if that's translated at all. Anyway, so he's saying there basically, right, the that the falsifiers, right, the Jews can't make Christ or the idea of Christ go away. So it would also be strange if our time, which rightly gets to the bottom of things historically, strives to find and establish realities, did not devote such interest to the personality of Jesus, whether one belongs to Christianity or not, or whether one views him this way or that. The interest must, in our opinion, increase and deepen in proportion when one assesses the position that so many great and greatest minds and personalities of the past 1900 years, not counting themselves, have taken toward the personality of Jesus in itself and within the framework of his teachings and his life. It would be difficult to understand and would seem quite absurd to research the lives, history, activities, and thoughts of countless important and great people, to study them, to judge them, to learn from them, and from them, but to leave aside the personality under whose sign they and European development have stood to a most essential extent for 1900 years, right? Which would be Jesus Christ. So, yeah, I just thought that was interesting little blurb. Note I found this on the Bundesarchive as well.